Okay, this is Trophy Gold, Castle Amber. I don't remember the part, but the YouTube video will say the part number, and I'll have it for next time. Um, Maybe like four, I think, or five, four, something like that. Anyway,
Four.
we've had a bit of a break, and we don't have Jim for this next little coming up bit, but that's okay. We'll kind of figure out where his character was whenever we see Jim again. But I think I want to just do a I'm going to do a big picture kind of overview of where we were at previously with Castle Amber. And then after that, I'm going to ask each of you to give me the sort of basic catch up information on your character, ruin, hunt roll tokens that you have, conditions, things like that. And also just like anything that you can recall that you want to sort of make sure we are reminded of before we begin. So the last part of this series was the last few parts that we did essentially was just going through Castle Amber, right? So we got to see every major wing of the house. We didn't do everything in the house, but we did a lot of it, and it was wild and chaotic. And you got to get to know the Amber family. They're all horrible mostly, and ultimately, what it all led to is finding these 3 silver keys that got you access through this gate that was in the dungeon. And this gate sort of transported you to a region of some world called Averoigne. And this region is also sort of like, much as the castle was, it is also like sort of in this like pocket dimension, this like weird place that it's at, right? It doesn't connect up to the rest of any world, and it's not from your world. And you you know the way of getting back. The way of getting back was contained on a scroll that had essentially like a list of things you needed to accomplish in order to um, find the tomb of Prince Stephen Amber, which will apparently lead to you escaping. And essentially, you need 4 magical items. These magical items are an enchanted sword, a viper circled mirror, something called the Ring of Ebon, and a potion that is connected to time travel in some way. That's sort of ultimately what it all boils down to. Now, this part of the module, I will tell you before we get going, is super sketchy. Like Castle Amber is highly detailed, and this whole next part is like 2 pages. And so there's a lot of blank space, and so we're going to just do our best with the blank space, and I'm going to be winging a lot of stuff, so just kind of grip tight to the rails with me, and we'll see how it goes. But I think we'll be good. I think we'll be okay. I'll kind of frame up how it's going to start in a moment, but before we do that, let's just talk about the characters. So let's go in the order of the sheet. I'm going to start with Revel. So Drew, kind of where's Revel at right now?
Things were pretty rough for Revel before the healing light. He just almost gotten eaten by a horde of undead and burned through all of his armor. But he's sitting okay at 3 ruin right now and no conditions.
Fantastic. And 3 runes your starting rune?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let's go to James and Horagust.
So Horagust managed to get his jade arm possessed by the spirit of an amber, but then it was eventually exorcised from the arm while he was in a pocket dimension falling through endless space. And then his arm fell off. Now he has a clockwork arm that he salvaged from the workshop of Stephen Amber. Things are getting pretty hard for him too. His arm is all gone, and he was getting pretty high on the ruin because of a fight with a stick insect, and in some black liquid, I believe. But he's gone back down to 3 now, so things could get pretty dicey if there was a combat. But he's actually weirdly kind of doing all right because he's now got an arm again. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Let's go to Mike and Sybil.
Sure. Sybil is doing pretty good. Let's see here, except I don't have any armor left. I have this banner of Forel's fleet, which got materialized out of dream stuff or something. A vial of black dust. I've got 3 ruin. I think the telepathy is probably gone, right? By this point.
Where did that come from? Remind me. Is that from the dust?
That was from the feast.
Oh, the feast. That's right. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, we'll say it probably is. It's probably worn off by now. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I also have a weird tail stump, which I don't know if it's actually a condition or not.
I think it's okay to have it written down as a condition.
Right.
Awesome. Also, I will remind you all that you do still need to meet your burdens. That is something that needs to get done during all this. So just as a little reminder. So if you, a lot of you have like a lot of like kind of treasure to cash in, so you should be okay. But just kind of be mindful of it. You can spend those hunt roll tokens to get treasures as you need to. I think that feels pretty good. One thing I recall is there was like a minotaur that murdered an amber. I feel like that happened like at the very end or something. Am I missing any details about that were important?
That was Gaston who got minotaured.
Yeah. I remember that was a pretty creepy scene. I think the minotaur might be an issue. We'll see. I don't know. It might show back up again. But in any case. Okay, good. So we're going to kind of fast forward a little bit. I think there was, or summarize some stuff, I should say. I think there was a period where you're sort of like in this land now, and it's like a region. I mean, there's like, it like stretches for miles, right, in various directions. And you have this rough guideline for what you need to do to escape this place. And I think it really just comes down to a matter of you all having set out. Now, Orlin, I'm going to say that Orlin essentially just like went in a different direction. We'll discuss that and discover what Orlin was up to at a later time. But the 3 of you went to a castle. It was one of the first things you could see. It was nearby, and that's where you went. Now, this castle is the home of give me a moment. The castle is the home of a woman named Sephora. She is the chatelaine of Solaire. Solaire being the lands within Averoigne that you find yourself in. And Sephora was kind to you. She fed you and kind of made you all like kind of comfortable. At a certain point, she requests that you join her for an audience. She is very beautiful. She appears to be a magic user of some sort. I think this might be a good place for paint the scene. What have you all noticed in your day and night in Solaire, in this castle, that indicates that Sephora is a magical being or a user of magic? It can be fairly subtle if you want.
I think a couple of times when Horrorguest has seen her enter a room from a staircase, and like there's just been a bit of a change in the light, her eyes kind of glint like gemstones a little, like a cat's eye, just there's a little flash of something in her eyes that's not quite natural.
I think she's able to project her voice like anywhere in the castle. Like you might be standing somewhere and you just hear a whisper through the weird walls, you know.
And she doesn't have the amount of staff you'd expect for a castle this large. A lot of messes and things just seem to take care of themselves.
She is sitting in a large chair that's kind of like a throne. She's wearing a sort of, I would say, like a kind of, like a plunging neckline kind of black gown, like an Elvira type gown, right? And she's sitting on her chair very casually, relaxed, with a goblet in her hand. And she says, "My guests, I have been considering these things that you need to escape this land. And I am very happy to report that I possess the first item on your list, the enchanted sword of Solaire, a family heirloom, you might say. I would be happy to give it to you, of course, but I will need for you to do something for me in exchange. A little north of here, there are ruins, the ruins of the old castle that used to be on these lands, the old Solaire, as it were. And within these ruins, somewhere, there is a beast that is part man and part wolf. And when it is in the fullness of its quickening, it stands very, very tall and broad-shouldered and is most ferocious. I would ask you to find this beast and dispatch it. Do this, and I will give you the sword. And not only that, but I will tell you where you need to go next in order to mark off the next item on your list. What say you?
Perhaps to assist us in this quest, you or any of your people could attend to our armor. We are at a bit of a disadvantage.
Yes, this can be done. Certainly. I will. We have a smithy in the tiny village just outside the castle. I will send word ahead. You can bring your things there and they'll be ready for you by the time you're ready to head out to the ruins. And assuming you agree to do this job, you can unmark your armor. So
Could I negotiate for another piece?
an extra piece of armor?
Mhm.
What do you say?
I think I offer this banner, right? Like you can see, this is quite the strange artifact. It might be useful to you, or at least interesting to display to all your guests.
Are you suggesting I hold this as security for any armor that I might provide you, or are we talking about a swap?
I think civil things like would be useful to have back. So, yes, you shall hold it until such time as I return with the.
I have
the
a set
deed
of
done.
leathers. I have a set of leathers that a former lover of mine, she used to wear. She is no longer with us, but the armor still is. And the armor is significantly more satisfying than she ever was. You can take that if you wish, and I will hold this artifact as security.
Now, conclude the deal. The usual pleasantries and
Indeed,
ingratiating comments.
Well, she says, let us feast tonight. And in the morning, you can take your armor to get repaired. And then tomorrow night, you can head out to the ruins. I believe that will be the best time to find the beast. And so, if there's anything else you all want to do in the meantime, you can certainly do it. Otherwise, we can fast forward to the night of the hunt.
I'm quite interested in whether, because Horgest recalls the wolf-headed deity that he by chance encountered on the top of the prison of the hated pretender, and he wonders whether there's a celestial kind of alignment that could be used to waken this creature, and maybe it's a time for him to get in touch with this deity, this thing that's taken an interest in him. Now that he has his astrolabe, maybe he could sit up on the tower at night and try and parlay with this thing and get some kind of advantage in the hunt to come.
I think it could be a good justification for a hunt roll, for sure. If you want to take a 2-die hunt roll, I like that. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, sure. So I just got to bring up the dice.
Oh yeah, the die roller. Yeah, let's grab
yeah,
that.
Don't have it open. Where is it? Dice. There we go.
Good too.
All right, I got a 6.
Nice. You have a hunt roll token. I think. Go ahead and just describe the process a little bit. Give us the scene. What does it look like?
Okay, so it's a sort of clear, star-spangled night over Averoigne, over Sillaire, and Harrogate sits up on the tower top of the castle, and the wind, sort of the biting wind, sort of swirls around, and he places this ornate, very high quality astrolabe that he found in Stephen Amber's laboratory that has the amber crest on the bottom of it embossed. He sets it down in front of him and he aligns it to the same arrangement that he accidentally made on the pretender's larger god astrolabe. And then he calls out and he says, "Oh, patron in the skies, you've taken an interest in my affairs, and it was not my wish, but now I wish to make a deal with you. You said you wanted funds, you wanted something for a coming war, and I can help to provide that. But in exchange, I need to live. I need to get out of this damn place. I need to survive, and I need to not succumb to curse before I do so."
I love it. The response of the god, or whatever the being was that you contacted, if it even is a response. I assume you're doing this that same night that you're first talking to Sephora. Is that correct?
That's right. Once we know that we're going out,
You'll notice down below, I think there's like a little brook that kind of goes around the castle. You'll notice on the other side of that brook, you'll see there are a group of wolves, a pack of wolves, their eyes glimmering in the moonlight, staring back at you. And they go deeper into the forest in the direction of the ruins. This is almost certainly a good omen. And you have a hunt roll token.
I'll tell the others about it the next day and say the wolves said we'll be successful. Trust the wolves, not the monster wolves, the other wolves. They're on our side.
Revel, what are you doing tonight, or if anything?
I think Revel will be, well, he'll be looking to see if there's anything he can steal.
Fair enough. Spend a token, you get something free. Otherwise, you can take a hunt roll.
Sadly, I have no tokens. So
Go ahead. How are you looking and where are you looking, importantly?
well, he has the skill of homes. So I think he'd be looking for places where someone rich like the Chatelaine might stash things that wouldn't be missed for some time.
Good. I'll take it. Take 2 dice. It's good.
That's a 6.
Very good. The Chatelaine uses her magic to hide valuable things from people such as you, especially that sword. That said, you get a hunt roll token, and I think you are learning something kind of interesting about the Chatelaine herself. Something about her passions. What do you learn?
She is much more capable with a blade than she lets on. And the armor that she gives to Sybil is clearly nothing close to the best she has.
Very good. Sybil, what about you?
Yeah, so this is like a castle with the associated town accoutrement.
There's like a little village, yeah, just
Uh-huh.
outside of it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll go to the local tavern, right? And have a performance, like play my music, and all the time I'll be asking, like, oh, I don't know this song about the beast that lives over there. Can you tell me this part? Yeah.
I love it. It's a great justification for a hunt roll. What skills are in play here?
Performance.
Performance, yeah, go for it.
A 5.
Nice. Take your token. The main thing about the local songs and stories about this beast, the beast of Solaire, is they always end badly. Every verse is someone having their guts spilled out on the loam, or their heads removed from their bodies, or their claws ripping through armor like tissue, right? And I think it gets almost like comically scarier, like with each new verse. It's almost like an Edward Gorey alphabet thing, right? Like each person featured in the verse dies to the beast's claw in some way, horrible way, right? And someone slaps you on the shoulder at the end and says, "That was a fine, fine performance. Fine performance." Tell you what, anybody who goes out there looking for the beast of Solaire, they are not going to come back alive, are they?
Yeah, and I think I'll tell him we will see. We seem to have a guardian.
Oh, you yourself intend to seek the beast? Hmm?
Yes. Do you know anything that might be useful?
Well, I know that the Chatelaine tends to rope in various tributes and volunteers, and very, very few of them, and by very few I mean none, return. The beast is most formidable.
Is that so? When does it when is it at its worst?
Well, I would say probably at night. The moon, you see, here in Averoigne, is always full, and the beast responds to the full moon.
Moon never goes away. That's, you know any stories about that?
Averoigne is a strange land. The sun is always high in the sky. And when the sun is not high in the sky, the moon is. We rarely know dusk or dawn in this place.
I see. I will keep your advice in mind. Is there something you seek out there?
No. I take comfort in simple things. A full flagon of ale. A warm straw bed. You have fun hunting the beast. It sounds like the sort of work that suits you.
Yes, it's a good use for trickery, you see.
I think the rest of the night for everybody passes more or less uneventfully. The next day, you can head back to the village, get your armor situated, and that leads to, by the time it's done, it leads to the inevitable night. The ruins are only about a quarter mile north, not that far. The precise location isn't given to you, just a sort of, more than a quarter mile. Let's say it's a mile, about a mile north. And you don't have the precise location, just a direction. And that's actually your first set goal. The set is journeying to the ruins of Solaire. And the set goal is safely reach the ruins of Solaire. You can spend tokens to do that right now, or you can head out as you wish.
I've got quite a lot of tokens, but I think everyone else doesn't have as many. We don't have that many between us, do we? So, yeah. No, I think we should just sort of have a go and see what happens.
I'm going to start with Revel. Revel, what's your approach? What precautions are you taking? What does this look like as you set out?
As they set out, Revel, I think he's going to be feeling pretty confident because, they know things that the people in this world don't seem to know. He knows about beast bitten. He's not worried. Beast bitten are just like they're
like a species in your world. Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't like them. So this will be easy. Just we'll just dispatch this poor soul and move on. And so I think he'll be bragging to the others, yeah, and just doing his normal stuff.
And Horogest has his scroll out, his geomantic scroll, and he's pointing at things with his new hand, and his hand's making this weird clicking, grinding noise, and saying, "Revel, Revel, it's about the sigils, Revel. It's all about basic metallurgy. If it's a werewolf, it must be allergic to silver. I've read it. We just need to find the right alchemical sigils and engrave them on our blades. I'm sure of it."
I think the sharpness of the blade is probably more important than whatever's written on it, Horgest, but you have at it.
You get the impression it's more like optimism than him actually knowing what he's talking about, but he just keeps talking about sigils and you can't get him to shut up.
I love it. Sybil, I think you were aware pretty quickly that up ahead, there's not really a road, if I'm being honest. It's just there's a kind of somewhat overgrown path, but it's not, I wouldn't call it a road that you're on. But nevertheless, up ahead, you hear what sounds like revelry, people drinking and laughing, carrying on. If this is an encampment of travelers or bandits or any such thing, they're going to have a lookout posted probably nearby. I'm curious what you do.
Well, I think on the way here, Sybil had like taken anything that would make noise on them, right, and wrapped it in the silks. And so I think I'll try to sneak up on this gathering and motion to companions like, oh, you hear that? I don't know that song. Let me look at these revelers.
So what's your approach? How do you approach them?
Yeah, I think just sort of striding, silently along. I assume there's rocks or something, maybe a stone wall.
They're probably just, I think, just like camping, like in a clearing, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to just sneak up on them with no sound.
Yeah, I like that. What skills or equipment might be in play here? I think this is going to be a risk roll. So
yeah, I think maybe Grace.
Okay, yeah, I like that. So let's make it a risk roll. Remind myself how to do a risk roll. Is that somewhere on the character tab? Or on the tab?
Should be. Oh, this is an older version.
Yeah, it's an older version, isn't it? Yeah. I think I remember. It's say what you want to do. You've done that. Everybody else gets to say what could go wrong if you fail. So what could go wrong if this roll goes poorly?
I think that they mistake us for the beast and overreact.
I had a similar idea. I think also like maybe the beast shows up, right?
There's a pickpocket in the crowd.
So let's talk about dice now. We're using Grace. You get first light die. Devil's bargains, things that will happen no matter what, whether success or fail. James, Drew, any offers?
I think whether the beast is like actively there or not, he is watching and will learn things about us.
I like that. I don't think I have anything to add there.
I think no matter what, someone standing, not one of us, standing towards the edge of the clearing just gets like snatched into the darkness and there's a horrible crunching noise and it's sort of very ominous.
Like one of the revelers, or
yeah, probably like
yeah.
just as like a foreshadowing kind of thing.
I love that too. That's very good. Between the two of them, I like that. They're kind of the same thing in a way, but anyway, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I like the red shirt getting taken.
Sounds good. Lovely. So I don't think you're necessarily risking your mind or body yet, so you can just stick to the 2 light dice for now if you want.
A 6.
A 6, very good. Give me like as much, like as far up to your approach, then I'll describe what you see.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I'm sneaking along, feet padding on this sort of well, it wouldn't be damp because it's night, right? But the grass somewhat tall, and I just come up to maybe a ridge and look over.
And you will see down below this group of people. You'll see they've made a camp. They have a fire. I would say it's about 6 people, and they do seem like bandits, just in the sense that they have a hard look. Their clothing and armor is a little shabby. They speak in kind of a rough way. They don't seem like tradesmen, and so they're probably bandits of some sort. And just as you sort of, maybe you like kind of make a crunching sound with your boot. One of them down below says, "Does anyone hear that?" And they're like, "Ah, you're making things up. I didn't hear anything." No, no, no. Listen, there's a sound. And then, quite suddenly, something leaps out of the shadows, or a pair of large arms come out of the shadows, grabs one of the bandits and splits them in two, just cracks them open like a piece of fruit. And everyone just fucking screams and runs. It's just chaos and people running and scattered everywhere. And you see the beast dragging the split open body into the tree line down below. What do you do?
I think my first instinct is also to bolt, but then I realized, oh, that would be a bad idea. So I turn around and like slink back, looking over my shoulder, and tell everyone like, oh, it's here, and it took someone.
Yeah, we can have that scene when you go back to the others.
Yeah, so I think I get back, like there's, it got one of them. It split them in half.
Did you see
Well,
where
I
it
suppose.
went? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I know, I was just going to say, did you see where it went? We can follow the gore.
So, yeah,
Rebel was just going to say, at least it'll be easy to find.
Probably. Do we want to find it really right now? What would you wait till morning?
I don't think this is a wait for morning kind of endeavor, Sybil.
We have no idea whether we are moving at the same speed of time in this land as in our own. The longer we wait, the more time we could miss.
Sybil, I think they retreat back to like fiddling with some totem or token that they have, and just like, okay.
Well, what is the next move here? The bandits are no longer a problem. They're no longer going to be an issue. You can move safely through their territory, or their camp, as it were, and continue on to the ruins. Revel, what do you think?
I think I'd like to look through what the bandits have left behind to see if there's anything that might help us.
Yeah, fair enough. Horgus, what do you want to do?
I think I'd like to look for some kind of like a bit like a bladed weapon because I only have a staff. And then I want to basically use like a string of the sigils that I found in my scroll and basically try and, improve the sword to see if it'll cut the hide of the beast.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Sybil, anything you want to do apart from just maybe following them down to the camp or whatever?
Yeah, I'll go down there and I'll search for a better, well, not a better, a melee weapon that I can use.
Let's go down to the camp. So, like I said, they did have a fire. The fire's still going. And they just dropped everything and ran. And you see the mess of gore and blood and the streak of viscera going into the tree line from where the beast took the first victim. It's still very wet and no immediate sign of the beast, but Revel, you said you wanted to search the cap.
Yeah, maybe they've left some kind of a, who knows, a silver laced bomb. Might be something in there.
Yeah, take a hunt roll.
Before I do that, can I spend my hunt token to find something worthwhile?
Sure, yeah. Let's see. Well, so they were bandits. I think you just find like their little stash of coin that they've managed to lift off people. It's worth 1 gold.
My first gold. All right. Right. I don't think I have anything to help. Whew, 2.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Sybil, you doing the same thing?
I think perhaps I will look around for some rare herbs or fungi or something, and spend my hunt tokens that way.
Oh, sure, yeah. How many tokens are you spending?
2.
2. Okay. Let's see. I don't think you're going to find any. Well, I take that back. You'll find a pot of like a poultice that can be applied to a wound for one of your token spends, and the other token spend is just going to be some more stash away treasure for 1 gold.
Sure. All right.
Horagest, I'm curious about this. Curious about this procedure you're going to do here. What does this look like?
So essentially, in my book, I have worked out a formula that is essentially a combination of sigils that are like express a lunar eclipse. So they're a series of meteorological symbols that basically channel like the negation of the moon into something. And I've convinced myself that if they're properly expressed, they will actually like be the opposite of Averoigne's like moon, but just in a localized area. I'd also possibly like to spend 3 of my tokens to find something like a really nice weapon abandoned to do this on.
Sure, yeah, you can take you can take, yeah, if you want to find like a really nice sword, I think that's cool. You can do that. The sword, if you're spending 3 tokens, like the sword's probably magical as well, right? Maybe not like, it's not the magical sword you need, but it has some magical qualities. Undefined at this point, but yeah, I think the make of the sword, the handle is actually embedded with amber stones, which means it probably belonged to an amber. And the make is very lovely. The scabbard also has like amber stones on it as well. And there's already some etching on the blade.
I guess I'd like to figure out what that means before I start adding things to it.
Yeah. Do you have a relevant skill like lore or symbols or something like that?
Well, I have rituals.
I'll take that.
I have. Yeah, I have attunement as well, possibly might be relevant.
Yeah, I don't need a roll. I'm just going to tell you what you can discover. The sword is magical, but the sword's magic, basically for the sword's magic to work, an amber has to gift it to you, or you have to be an amber.
Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to, because my arm is one of Stephen Amber's creations, I'm going to emblazon a master sigil of the House of Amber onto the back of its hand. and attempt to convince the sword that I'm an amber, and also perhaps the fact that I had an amber's ghost in my arm might also help.
Right, yeah. We'll say this is all a work in progress. We'll see how it goes later on. In the meantime, you have a 2 on your hunt roll, Revel. While this is all going on, while you're digging around the camp, while Horror Guest is making discoveries and all this stuff is going on, a wolf walks out of the tree line. Just a regular wolf. Coat of thick, smoky gray fur, his teeth bared, and then a few more of its friends also come out of the tree line. We shall take a 5-minute break and come back and deal with wolves. Or I guess these may be the wolves that you saw in your after your communion. They may be different wolves. Who knows? But in any case, I think I'm going to give you the first move here, Horgus. What do you do?
I'm gonna walk towards them and say, "Are you here to impart your wisdom to us wolves? I know that you're an omen."
Indeed. What are you hoping to accomplish?
I'm going to like try and ascertain what their significance is, fully convinced that they're actually the same wolves I saw before, regardless of whether they actually are.
Okay. Do a hunt roll, actually. Yeah.
I guess my case, perhaps, could I make a case for my like attunement, or that I could like no that they're animals, that's stupid. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna do a 1 dice hunt roll because I got nothing, I think. So
Okay, go ahead.
I think 6.
Hey, good. You were trying to figure out what they want, and I think you can take a token and you begin to realize what they want when one of them snaps at you and like tries to fight you when you get too close. These wolves just want to do what wolves do.
I'll shout and wave this sword and say, "Stay back! This is a magic sword."
The wolves are cordoning in. I think there's about 4 of them total. Revel, what do you do?
I think he will warn the others to cover their ears, and he's going to attempt to feather the pack.
Wait, say that again? Sorry, I had to look away at something.
That's okay. He's going to warn the others to cover their ears and attempt to feather the pack so they float off.
Oh, very good. Interesting. That's dangerous. All right, let's do that. Risk roll. Doing a ritual to feather them away. What could go wrong, James and Mike?
I think the opposite happens and they become like really heavy and like, it sort of has the opposite effect somehow and makes them like, yeah, really dense and solid and hard to hurt.
Well, I like that too. I would say it makes you all very dense. Like you just are pinned to the ground. Anything to add, Mike, or good?
Yeah, I don't have anything. So
Let's talk about your dice, Drew. What skills are in play? Or equipment?
Rituals. And I think he was going to use his whistle.
Okay, good. I'll take that all sounds good. So I'll give you 1 light die. Devil's bargains. My offer is whether it works or not, one of your companions is also going to float. Your choice, though, on the companion.
My offer is that no matter what, the wolves fall out of the sky when the ritual wears off at an inconvenient time.
They just like gently glide down to wherever you're at.
Yeah, gently. I don't mean in terms of like hurting the wolves. I mean like, yeah, they just sort of turn up at an
Well,
inconvenient time.
I think it's better if they just like kind of like they just float down. Like
Yeah,
here
I
they
like
are.
that. I like that too. Yeah.
You got two offers on the table, Drew. What do you think?
As much as I like the idea of towing Horgust around by a string, I think I'm gonna have to go with the It's Raining Wolves.
Two light dice. I think a dark die has to be done because of the ritual. Take it away.
That's a 6.
Yeah, on the light too. It's good. Yeah, describe the success of the ritual. How do you get the wolves out of your hair?
He once the others have covered their ears, his throat tattoo starts glowing, and he pulls out his whistle and just blows one long sustained note, and all the wolves just find themselves gently lifting off the ground. I imagine there's some confused yips, and Revel just ta-ta.
Very good, very good. Post wolf balloons, what is everyone doing?
I'll be poring over my scroll, trying to figure out how to trick this sword into letting me like use it.
What about you, Sybil?
I think I will collect some stones and try to take shots at the wolves.
I think they eventually float away to where you can't reach them, right?
Okay.
But
All right. Then
what about
just
I like it as a scene though. Yeah.
uh,
What about you, Revel? What are you doing?
He didn't really find anything useful, so I think he's just going to maybe check out the blood trail and see if they can see if it like took them far away or if he's potentially still in the area.
Oh yeah, good. To a hunt roll.
I don't think I can make a case for paths, maybe.
I'll take it.
A 3.
Not great. While Horrorguest is deep in his work with the sword and the ambers and all the other various strange things going on with Horrorguest, and while Sybil is watching stones fall ineffectually to the sky as the wolf balloons get too high up in the air, I think you head out to follow the path of gore and blood. And you follow it for a little bit, enough to put you away from the group. When you find yourself face to face with the beast, it is hunkered down when you first encounter it, snarling, large. At first you thought it was like a big boulder, and then it started to move. And then it stood up, and to your horror, the thing stands well over 8 feet tall and is at least 4 feet wide at the shoulder, rippling with muscle and fur, teeth dripping with gore. It could lunge and reach you easily. What do you do, Revel?
I think he'll hold up his hand and in a voice that is mostly free of the fear that he's feeling, he'll say, I know you can understand me. We can help you.
This feels dangerous. Let's come back to Horrorgust. Horrorgust, I feel like what you're doing is dangerous also. Because it sounds like what you want to do is convince this magic sword that you're an amber, first of all, and also alter the sword in some way.
I actually want to alter my arm. Rather,
Okay.
I realized I was going to make the sword magic, a non-magical sword magic, but I found an actual magic sword made by someone who actually knows how to make magic swords and isn't a charlatan. So rather than doing that, I'm going to try and trick it. And I have an idea because I have a piece of my jade arm that contains the spirit, the residual traces of an amber ghost. And I'm going to set it into the back of my hand with a sigil of the amber house and a ring of runes that sort of, binds the sword to it.
I think this is a risk roll. What could happen if this procedure goes poorly, Drew or Mike?
I think it becomes a cursed sword in some way.
I was going to say that the sword gets bound to Horrorgust, but not in like a useful way, like it is stuck to him.
I'm going to say that an amber spirit appears, grabs the sword, and attacks you with it. And so, dice, do you have a relevant skill here or piece of equipment?
Yeah, well, I have the sword. I have my
Yeah,
fallen off jade arm. I have rituals. I have attunement, and I also have construction.
Good enough
And
for
I
one
have
light die.
and I have sacrifice. So I think I was born ready. So
Good, yeah, indeed you were. Good enough for one whole light die. So you have your light die and devil's bargains. What's going to happen? Possibly, no matter what, gang. I'm going to say no matter what, a ghost amber does appear, and you have to like win a duel.
Maybe this binding process binds a lot of other things, like maybe the creature.
The process itself requires a sacrifice.
I'm going to take Drew's offer purely because one of my skills is sacrifice and I'm a dying elder. So I think that's just like the most on-brand choice I could make.
I love it. Got 2 light dice. I feel like, I think you have to do dark die as well.
I'm sort of seeing this as a ritual, like a de facto ritual.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I got a 5.
And the rune's going up as well. And I think that's just ruined from like just dabbling with like magics in this way. You succeed. I'll tell you the complication. Actually, you don't get to make a choice because it's high. So dark is high. So the complication is what happens. But the complication is going to be. The complication is going to be. What was? Let me think about some of our fail conditions first. The devil's bargain is you have to make a sacrifice of some sort, right? I'm going to say the complication is the complication is you, James, don't get to choose what the sacrifice is. One of us does.
I love that.
And so let's talk about that sacrifice. Everyone gets to make a sacrifice offer. I will ultimately arbiter or decide which one I think is the best.
one eye.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, might be too much, but maybe it's the arm, right?
I like the eye. I'm going to say it's just to kind of give it a twist there, if you don't mind, Drew. You have to like remove your eye and replace it with a piece of amber.
I like that. That's very Odin-esque as well.
It
Like
is, yeah.
learning the secret of the runes. Yeah.
I'm into it. I think it's going to be a really cool scene. We'll come back to that scene though. That also explains your way to ruin pretty easily too. So, Sybil, let's say you get bored throwing rocks at wolf balloons. That so what do you do next?
Aside from watching this spectacle, yeah, I'll try to find maybe some papers that the bandits left, or something to figure out who they are.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Take another hunt roll just to kind of keep going through their stuff.
All right. I don't think. Would a candle help?
Yeah, I guess so. Like maybe if like they have like stuff like a little bit away from the fire, like pile of equipment or whatever. Sure.
All right. 4.
Get your token, and I'll give you the terrible thing in a moment. We'll come back to it, in fact. So, Revel, where'd we leave you? What was your dire thing that you were doing? I was going to call for a risk roll, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet, yeah. What's your goal here?
Primarily not get eaten, but also if they can maybe run some kind of grift on the chatelaine, no poor beast bitten has to die.
Yeah, interesting. I like that. Interesting. So you want to like basically kind of get some sympathy going or some empathy going with the wolf beast. Okay. How could this go very, very badly, Mike and James? I mean, the obvious thing is the wolf attacks you, right? So.
Yeah. Maybe this creature has maybe it used to be someone that she used to know. Like there's a link, and she's going to know when it's dead or whatever.
Oh, so you can't fool her. Yeah, that's good.
I think you realize that the wolf is not the villain. The wolf is a victim, and that actually there's sort of some kind of complication around. I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but basically the villain, the chatelaine is the villain, and the wolf is not, sort of thing. But that doesn't necessarily change what you have to do.
We'll play with that if that's an interesting idea. We'll see how it goes. What dice? How do you get your first slide die?
Desperation to not get eaten. Beside that, I don't think I have anything.
Fair enough. Well, Devil's Bargains then. Devil's Bargain is. I'm still thinking of mine. If somebody has an idea, go ahead and say.
I think no matter what, it marks you. Like whether it's in sympathy or in animosity, it marks you as one of its kind.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's like starts the wolfening process with you. It's just solve my problems, or I'll let this finish, something like that.
I'm gonna say no matter what. I think just like no matter what, the wolf leaves, it gets away, right? And goes to where you have to ultimately kind of find it again.
I think I'll take the marking.
One light die. I think one dark die is automatic. Go for it. Risk 1/1.
Dark 6.
Ruin is going up, but you succeed. You make like so. Well, so what's your approach here? What do you say initially again? Like, what's the kind of initial gambit?
That he knows the wolf can understand him, and
Yes.
that we can help them.
Oh, interesting. Where does the ruin come from? Man. It does not, let's just keep the scene going. It does not leap at you, though it certainly could. Instead, it dips its head down to indicate like safety, like you can approach. What do you do?
He'll take a small step forward, and he'll keep his hand up, and he'll say, "We are not of this world. People like you are not as uncommon where we come from. We may understand your situation better than most around here."
Interesting. And I think I'm going to lean into the "you are marked" idea, kind of literally, especially vis-a-vis your ruin going up. And the wolf sort of gently puts its claws on your shoulders, and they're huge. They like engulf like your whole upper body, right? And pulls you close and uses the claw to just tear away your, I assume you have armor or something there.
Just my coat.
Just tears that away to expose your chest, and then uses its nail to mark you with a symbol that looks like a stylized sun and moon and some other little marks. And it's painful because the nail is just like tearing into your flesh. And you're just feeling the beast's hot breath the whole time. And you're bleeding out. Your chest is bleeding quite a lot. And it licks the wound. And its saliva almost like acts as not a cauterizing agent, but like it cleans the wound and stops it from bleeding. And then it just skulks off into darkness. What do you do?
He'll pick up his coat and kind of hold it to the wound to try and clean up any of the mess, and he'll say, "Yes, that seemed extremely necessary."
So we'll put you all back together at the camp, the bandit camp. Let's just have that scene. And what are you going to do next?
Revel will approach, and he'll say, "Well, I encountered the wolf, and I'm either married to it or it trusts me."
I've had a revelation of my own, my friend, says Horogest as he turns to you, and his face is all just covered in blood, and there's this kind of amber fleck in his eye instead of an eye. And then when you look at the hilt of the sword, it has like, it's white, the stone, and it has an iris and a pupil.
By the sisters, man.
So you like switch the amber and like a very good, yeah.
And my hand has, the bit of jade and the sigil on the artificial arm. But the sword now seems to grudgingly accept me.
I think I'll stick with what happened to me then.
Knowledge
Well,
can never be a bad thing, Revel. You're on the path to enlightenment. Swelling corp was only the beginning for you, my friend.
I think Sybil will look at you, Revel's like, I don't even want to know about that, but I do want to know about this, and I'll try to figure out what the wolf marks mean,
yeah, that's interesting. So, do you have a relevant skill?
I was going to use parse.
Okay, I'll go with that. Wait, do you have a skill called parse? Oh, you have a ritual called parse, don't you?
Mhm.
Yes. I don't need a roll, but I will tell you this: you can use it to learn. Where this being comes from, it's a member of a tribe of people like this. And this is a symbol that they would use to mark you out as a member of the tribe. Now, why the beast might have done that with Revel is probably based off what you know about what Revel told you. You'll deduce that the beast does believe Revel is a friend, and that was its way of like showing that.
All right, then I'll go over this and I think you've made a rather tall friend here. You're one of its group, I think, for better or worse.
Perhaps we can teach this world the concept of the handshake next. At the very least, it should be
Importantly,
easier
I
to-
think you'll figure out, Sybil, that the wolf is not of this world either. Like
Okay.
it came from somewhere else, right?
Yeah, then I'll say that like, well, you could teach the people here, but that thing is not from here either.
Oh, good. More complication. Well, perhaps we can use this to find a way to convince the Chatelaine we've done the job. Or perhaps Horgest. This may help.
I guess the question is like, what does this sword do? Does it get us around like having to deal with the Chatelaine, or is it just in what way does Hargus intuit that this sword is magical?
I'm open to your ideas, James, if you have any ideas for it.
I think maybe that the sword is kind of like it's made from a stone, like Hargus can tell it's actually made out of like amber, but it's not from this world. Just like the stones of Castle Amber were not from this world. It came from somewhere else, and the ambers have made it into
to be
a
clear,
sword.
the stones of Castle Amber were not from your world.
Oh, okay.
They're from
Sorry.
this world. Yeah.
Well, okay. So it's an interloper. The blade is not from Averoigne, but the ambers sort of forged it into a sword. So I'm thinking maybe it has some kind of resonance between dimensions of a vague kind. I mean, I don't know exactly how that would manifest, but perhaps it could be used to.
I like it. Yeah.
I don't want to be too specific because I think that would be too, I'd rather it emerge.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being like, yeah, you're resonating with other dimensions there. I think that's a cool start, at least, to what this sword is about. So we'll go with that for sure. Well, the fact remains, your deal with Chatelaine is to destroy the beast. And now it sounds like maybe that's not an option, or at least that's a more complicated option at this point. You could maybe go into you could do some sort of deception. You could, if you don't want to destroy the beast, if you want to go ahead and destroy the beast anyway, you can do that. Come up with an alternative thing that would convince the Chatelaine to give you the Sword of Solaire. There are options, I think.
Revel will suggest that we go when the sun has risen, and hopefully the beast will be more communicative, and perhaps with their help we can solve this knot.
I think it's become fairly obvious that the beast is not the one at fault in this particular arrangement.
That seems like maybe the case.
Yeah. Well, if there's no objections from anyone else, I think you got a place to make camp right here. So hopefully the bandits don't come back in the night, but they very well may. But in any case, you can make camp there or go somewhere else. It's up to you. You're not that far. You're not that far from the castle. If you want to go back to the castle, so
I think maybe
Revel would
it makes
not
sense
vote for that.
Sorry, go on, Drew.
To not go back to the castle. That's it.
I think we'd also just both be so drained from our respective experiences that we would want to go anywhere.
Sybil, what's your thinking on where to camp for the night?
I think Sybil does not want to venture into the woods at night, so here is just fine.
Let's set a couple of watches then. Just 2 watches are all we need to get through the night. Who wants to take the first watch?
I'll take it.
Not Horgust.
Sybil, you're on watch. The others are asleep. Horgust's amber eye is twinkling from the dying light of the campfire. And I'm curious how you pass the time.
I think I practice rhythms, like drumming rhythms.
Interesting.
Just on fingers, So.
Yeah. You're doing that. And as you're doing that, you see a wolf balloon gently, slowly descending back to the camp. Just one. The wolf is asleep. And if you don't do anything in the meantime, it just gently is set down on the ground in the middle of camp, asleep. What do you do?
So as it's coming down, I'll sort of sneak to where I think it's going to land and then look at it, and just check if it has the marks.
It does. It has a bare patch of fur on its belly where the mark has been carved into its skin.
Okay, then I'll go over to. I'll wake up Revel, and like there's a wolf. One of your wolves is back, and they've got the mark. What do you want to do about it?
What is it doing?
It's sleeping. Don't wake it up.
Have you ever heard to let sleeping wolves lie?
That's what I'm doing. What are we doing? But it's gonna wake up eventually.
Perhaps it too will think me a friend. I'll take my watch now. It's already woken me up.
Very good. An extra long watch for Revel. Revel, the wolf is just sleeping. And it occasionally does that thing where it kicks its leg or whatever, it's having a dream. And eventually it stands up and it walks over to where you are. And just drops down next to you, pulling in closer to you for warmth. What do you do?
Revel will let out the breath he was holding and say, yes, well, good wolf, good wolf. And just gently pat its head and then try and get back to sleep himself. Because they got a wolf now. He doesn't need to keep watch.
Indeed. The morning comes. By the time you all get roused, the wolf is gone. You're fairly close to where you believe the ruins are, and especially with daylight, you should be able to navigate to them fairly easily. Is there anything you all want to do before you head out, or shall we just head out to the ruins?
I'll look. I'll take this second opportunity to look for another weapon.
Indeed. I think they had all their weapons with them, so
Okay, all right.
No luck on that front, apart from the magical one that Horagaz found. And I do think, though, that you'll have time to sort of like search the rest of the camp, and you can each add a piece of drop-down equipment to your found equipment if you want.
If they're all full, do we get
Oh,
to
you
drop
you
something?
can add it to found equipment. Just like
Oh,
pick
found
something
it.
from the list. Yeah.
I'll take some lockpicks.
I'm taking some wooden stakes.
I've got a chain.
You head out to the ruins, and you can find them fairly easily, especially in the day. It's like an old castle, but like more of like it's not like a new construction, like kind of castle like Sephiroth's castle or Sephora's castle. It's more like the ruins of like a fort, right? Like you'll see like it's a lot of like overgrown wood and rotted wood, with some stone feature, but it's otherwise it's just kind of a it's more like a primitive fort type structure where it was. there are lots of half crumbled little sort of interior rooms and buildings, and even like the ruins of a village that was nearby in the area. You've accomplished the first set goal. The next set goal for these ruins is draw the beast out in the open. So once you get there, Horagust, what do you do?
I think I'd if this creature's from another dimension, I'm gonna attune to this sword and see if I can use it to find the beast, because it doesn't fit into the fabric of Averoigne.
I like it. Take a 2-die hunt roll.
Okay, let's do that. Where are we? A 3, not good.
You are doing that. What are you doing in the meantime, Sybil?
So we're coming up on this fort. Sorry.
I think you're there.
Right.
Like you just,
There?
before you
Okay.
realize that you're in the middle of the ruins. So.
Mhm.
Like there's not even a
Yeah.
wall or anything anymore. You just walk right in the middle of it. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll look around for traps and like false walls, etc., hiding places.
Yeah, I love it. Take a hunt roll. Do you have a skill that's relevant here?
Maybe trickery.
Yeah, I'll take trickery. Go for it.
All right. Double 6. Okay.
Nice. Take your token. We'll come back to what you find in a moment. Revel, what are you doing?
I think he's going to step a little ways from the others and call out and say, "My friend, we've come to speak."
Take a hunt roll. Yeah.
+1 for the marking.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll take that.
That's a 6.
Nice. Horagust, you are poking around, tuning, as it were, with the sword. You kind of find yourself in like a sort of half crumbled building, stepping over rubble, planks of rotted wood. When you feel cold metal against your neck and a warm breath from over your shoulder as someone has snuck up behind you and put a knife to your throat. It's a woman. She says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
We're stuck in this place. We want to get out, and we're trying to go parley with the wolf creature so that we don't have to kill it, because we're not really that invested in doing the Chatelaine's dirty work for no reason that we can understand.
She pulls you out into more in the open, while the other two of you are doing your searching around. She says to you, "Sybil, you." She still has Horagust. She says, "You. I recognize that armor.
Yes, it's
I assume it was a gift from the Chatelaine."
not so much a gift. It's we borrowed it. She's holding something of mine in exchange.
In exchange for coming out here to kill the wolf beast of the Solaire ruins.
Well, that is what she tasked us with, but perhaps we can work something out. You know, we're just looking for the sword.
And she looks at you, Revel, and she says, "You seem familiar to me. Why?"
Either I just have one of those faces, or you did this last night.
Come closer.
He does.
She's still holding Horagest, but she uses her knife to pull open your shirt a little bit to get a better look. She says, "I never have much memory of the things that happen at nighttime. Each morning is like being born anew in a way. But I remember things. I remember Sephora. I remember that we were lovers. I remember that we had a falling out and that she's been trying to kill me ever since. And it seems you all represent her latest attempt."
She has promised us assistance with getting back to our world if we help her.
Truly, does she? How intriguing. She promised me such a thing some time ago, and she never upheld her end of the bargain. I think if you kill me, you will find that she has dealt with you in bad faith, and you will have simply done her dirty work.
And it's for that reason that we tried to find a way around her request, and why we're here now speaking to you, and why I have this lovely piece of artwork on my chest.
She doesn't even have the sword. You know that, right?
Well, we know now.
Why am I not surprised? She seemed like a liar.
Yes, that's one word of many that could be used to describe her. She lets you go, Horagest.
Well, that's very polite of you. Thank you. We just want the sword. We don't care about the politics of the situation. We just want the sword.
She doesn't have it. She never had it. She told me she had it. Let me guess. You're trying to find the tomb of Stephen Amber in order to escape this place. And in order to summon the tomb to you, you need 4 magical items, one of which is the great sword of Solaire.
That would be correct.
I'm afraid you're out of luck, at least if you expect to get it from her.
Do you know where we could get it? Perhaps we could help each other.
I don't know, but I know a little bit about it.
We're all ears.
It's a treasure, a hereditary treasure of the Amber family.
Is there anything they aren't involved with?
In this land, very little indeed.
Hargast holds up his sword and says, I'm assuming it's not this sword, is it? I'd feel very foolish if it was.
She says, I have not seen that sword, but it certainly contains motifs that the family is very fond of.
Well, not being from our world, you perhaps wouldn't understand that with this marking on my chest, you and I are now wed. I think we must work together.
She says, how can we be wed when we have not consummated a marriage? Is that how it works on your world?
Not usually, but I'm not busy.
Huh. And she sort of like rolls her eyes. It is possible you actually possess the sword of Solaire. That would be a rich irony, I think, in this situation. Maybe if we work together, we can all escape this place. We can all find the tomb of Stephen Amber. Be done with it.
We have one reasonable condition, of course.
That I
you
don't eat you
us.
tonight? Ah, good.
Yes.
She says, well, I can't make you any promises, but I will try to have a big meal before moonrise.
Then it's settled. My name is Revel, by the way.
She doesn't offer her name.
You're a very cheerful soul, aren't you? Suppose turning into a wolf every night and being spurned by your lover will do that to you.
She doesn't laugh, I laugh. She is, I think she's dressed in like patchwork furs of like animals and creatures she's killed. And she has a wild look about her, right? Who knows how long she's been on the run from Sephora. It could be that if she is quote unquote born anew every morning, she's been living out the same terrible loop, for God knows how long. It's possible you already have the sword. It is tricky because you don't know where to go next. But you do know, well, allegedly Sephora knows. I don't know. So what do you think? What's the next move here?
I think I'm going to ask the sword because it has a bit of me kind of attuned to it, so I should hopefully be able to figure out what it is and where we can go next.
What were you gonna say, Sybil?
Yeah. I'll like try to get her to talk. Like sit down and tell me of your homeland, Usul.
Tell me the waters of your home world.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure. She'll say, well, where I come from, there are others like me. We find each other and we form into clans, tribes, bands. And there are some who are better at controlling the change than others. They look after the ones who have less control, try to give them order to their lives, It's complicated. One day, I was seeking a particular cave, a cave that was supposed to hold the answer to our curse. And before I could reach the cave, I found myself at Castle Amber, looking for silver keys.
Did you find them?
Yes, they led me to a gate, which led me here. Well, led me to Solaire. and Sephora, and we were happy for a time.
And I'll ask, what stories was it? Sephora? Is that right?
Sephora. Yeah.
Yeah. What stories did she tell about the blade?
Well, I began to realize that she doesn't really know much about how to escape this place. She is very preoccupied with her studies, her various enthusiasms. I got the impression that she is also a refugee in this world, but that perhaps time has put thoughts of home far back into her mind. Maybe she has just come to accept this place.
And did she ever tell you about the other artifacts that she promised to lead us to?
Only that one of them, the Viper circled mirror, is owned by an individual named Gaspard Nor, who lives in the village of Averoigne. I never sought it myself, but perhaps we can now.
Perhaps. And I think we'll part ways for now, and maybe drop this into a conversation real casual later.
Yeah. I'll type that stuff for you. Let's take a 5-minute break. So you have a clue. You have a name and a town, or the name of a town. The name of a town and the name of a person in that town who supposedly owns the Viper Circle mirror. It is late in the morning. What do? Revel?
I think he will stand up and look at his three companions and say, the way I see it, we can either move on to Vion and track down this Gaspard, maybe take action on the one of the four that we know for sure the location on, or we come up with some kind of way to convince Sephora that we've taken, I think I'll go with Luna. How do you feel about Luna? That we've taken Luna out.
He says,
and
I admire your completely obvious naming conventions, Revel.
well, I'm pretty. I never said I'm creative. But if we can figure out some way to fool Sephora, perhaps we can take advantage of that fact to see what she does know. Or kill her and loot her palace.
I like that option.
Harrogast's been talking to his sword, so you thought that he'd reached the peak of annoying behavior, talking to granite outcrops and falling asleep and at the wrong time and getting you transported to strange dimensions. But now he's just constantly talking to the sword, saying, "Are you the sword of Ivon? Come on, you can tell me. You know that I won't tell."
Indeed, indeed. The sword says nothing for now.
I think, yeah, Sybil likes to plan of going back to Sephora, but just time it just right so that we have this transformation happen during the meeting.
What do you hope to gain by murdering her?
Well, doubtless she has information in her studies, whether that's on her obsessions or on the other artifacts, and if not, well, there's always the material, in the castle.
In our world, we have this thing called debt. Don't recommend it.
So then we wait until nightfall and then, or near nightfall, and return to Sephora, and then I make an appearance.
I love the drama of it.
Yes, I can even I can do your makeup. She won't recognize you at all.
I think if we go near nightfall, you won't need to do anything to my face. Nature will have taken its course by then. And yet we have the better part of the day. Perhaps Vayon is not far away.
Let's go talk to this Gaspard de Nord. Maybe if we can find out enough information, we won't need that bitch.
Perhaps we'll even find our friend Orlin. You'll enjoy Orlin, Luna.
Well, the best way to find somewhere, the best way to find the way to go, is to get to high ground. If this is a town of any appreciable size, it should stick out. Especially considering I think this place is, all in all, not particularly big.
Then off we go.
You do get to some high ground, and you do see a few miles away what appears to be, as best you can tell, a town of some sort. There's a wall, even.
Any advice for approaching the people of this village?
I never went here, so no, I do not know.
Do we know anything about this Gaspar? What is his profession?
I do not know.
We could just go in and just demand to speak to him as if it were our right. And, why shouldn't we speak to Gaspard de Nord? We're men of importance.
I have a feeling you will want to cover yourself up, Horagest. The people of Averoigne are, how shall I put it, simple, uncomplicated rubes. They are very, very frightened and hostile to things they don't understand, magical things, people that turn into beasts in the night.
I think Haragast has to come to terms with the fact that he's distinctly supernatural looking now with his amber eye and strange sort of clanking mechanical arms. So he'll find some robes and an eye patch and pretend and he has a staff, so he could be a sort of old man with an eye patch and a sort of dirty robe.
He says, "Oh, splendid. You look like you're either ready to go raiding from your pirate ship or passing out cryptic messages to wanderers on the road? Which is it, I wonder?
Beware the ravens at dawn, young woman.
She heads out in the direction of Ione.
I think that, Sybil, this will be your show, as it were.
Indeed.
You reach the walls of the town, and when you reach the walls of the town, you actually get there when at a pretty auspicious moment, because people are being hurried inside. Like the people from the village are being hurried inside the walls of the town. They're bringing their animals, they're bringing like all their stuff, and everyone's in a panic. Like there's a panic. Slipping in with this group won't be any trouble at all, because it seems like what they're scared of is not people like you. It's something else.
All right. I'll roam. Well, not roam around, skulk around, and try to listen and find out what's happening.
Oh, they're saying you don't even
Okay.
you don't have to try too hard.
All right.
You hear them saying, "The monstrosity was spotted. It's nearby. We have to get inside the town's walls." Can you imagine? Oh, it's a horror. It's a horror. I knew when we cast out that sorcerer Nathair. I knew he would strike back at us like this.
Revel's ears kind of perk up and he goes, "A sorcerer?"
Yes, as foul a man as ever been made. He helped us for a time, and we sheltered him for a time. And then, when his presence was no longer allowed, he was kicked out. And he's wanted revenge on us ever since. And now his revenge is near.
Interesting. And he'll turn to the others and say, "Perhaps we could use this to our advantage." Think
Well,
of how grateful they'll be.
I'll ask them what was the name of this sorcerer.
Nathair was his name.
Okay.
You get inside, and it's like a town meeting, basically. Like there's a big like kind of dais or whatever where people are kind of like, where like officials are trying to calm everyone, right? And all this stuff is going on. And you'll hear people say, "I saw it. I saw the thing. It looked like hundreds of bodies like fused together into one massive monstrosity." Another one says, "It's a golem. That's what it is. It's a golem. A titanic flesh golem. I know that this is the sort of thing that Nathair was experimenting with." And it's going on at some length.
This puts me uncomfortably in mind of the lesser ambers. I have a feeling where Nathair might have learned a thing or two from the ambers.
Eventually, a man kind of steps forward and addresses the crowd. He's dressed in sort of green and brown robes, a little paunchy, older. He says, friends, I know the way to stop this horrible construct. As you know, I myself was a protege of the sorcerer. I have, of course, since abandoned such dark inquiry. But during that time, I learned things, and I know in Castle Amber there is a black powder that can be used to weaken the structure of the golem to make it more manageable. If only we could go to Castle Amber and find the black powder, we can use it against the golem and, well, destroy it and be safe. But if we do not hurry, our walls will not stand up to it for long.
What a coincidence.
But who will go to Castle Amber to find the black powder, Gaspar?
Revel just looks at Sybil and Horgust, and are we doing that?
I think Sybil just like looks at him and then looks back at you and then like pats the coin purse, you know.
We'll do that. I'll just stand up.
You will go to Castle Amber to find the black powder?
Why not?
Well, and brave soul, what would you like in exchange for this service?
I'm particularly fond of mirrors and snakes. Do you have anything that could satisfy my desires?
He gives you a sly look and says, I may know of such a thing, yes. So, you'll do it then, if I show you such a thing.
And perhaps a new coat.
There's a laugh. Ha 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 ha. Lighten the mood a little bit. He comes down and kind of talks to you personally. Says, well, you will have to hurry because, of course, the gate to Castle Amber only appears very briefly at night. I can send someone out to take you there to the spot if you need. After that, you're on your own. Here, it might be worth pointing out, I think you all have the black powder.
Yeah, I know. I just want to pressure him.
He says, now, have you been to Castle Amber? Do you understand what you're going to be facing when you get there? The Ambers are all perfectly mad. And they're all magic users.
Yes, terrible, terrible magic users.
And
Perhaps
you'll have
some
to go
gold.
through the territory of the wolf beast of Solaire.
Terror, terror, pure terror.
Yeah, I think there's a Minotaur too, right?
Yes, the Minotaur. Yes, he hasn't been seen in these lands in months and months, years possibly even. That too is a danger. The road is very, very paved with danger, but I have the mirror you seek. If you can bring us the black powder and destroy the golem, he adds, I will happily give it to you.
Oh, we must destroy the golem too.
But I thought that
worth-
was sort of understood. I mean, surely if you are capable of going to Castle Amber and acquiring this rare and valuable powder that will weaken the golem, you can defeat the golem. That shall be a mere trifle at that point.
Perhaps, but that trifle is worth a bit of gold, I would say.
All right. Very well. You drive a hard bargain. While you're gone, I'll talk to various people in town. We shall put together a tribute.
And he'll put his arm around Luna and say, "My wife and I appreciate your accommodating us."
She says, "We're not going to be married for long. We are also looking for a way to sever this marriage if you know any lawyers, barristers in town." And yeah, so what do, group? You have the black powder.
We're not gonna like go around the corner of a house and then come back again, are we? As if
I think it's either just whip it out of the coat right now, or go do something else and come back, right?
Maybe go do something else. All the people have gathered in this thing. We can snoop. And they can't even get mad if we come back with the black powder. So
Well,
I guess he's gonna make us fight this golem anyway, so maybe we should just go like do it and then make sure he's actually not just lying to us about needing the black powder. He's not trying to trick us. We could actually, try and figure it out ourselves and find an appropriate point to ambush this monstrosity.
it's probably a wiser plan.
Yeah, I like that. Get some intel on it.
very well.
To be-
Oh, go ahead, James.
I was going to say, I guess we've learned our lesson from the lesser ambers that basically you shouldn't let them, build up a head of steam. Otherwise, they start growing wings and all kinds of horrible things. So we want to make sure we do this decisively.
So, what do? Luna says, "What's our first move here?"
Well, I think it makes sense to. What's the time of the day at the moment?
It's still fairly early, probably just like noon.
Do we think that we have until night before this thing turns up? I wasn't sure from the babbling.
They seem to think it's happening really imminently. I think someone saw it, right? So it's got to be in the area.
Probably don't have time to wait till night then.
And they think the walls will hold for a while. I think they're worried about like once the walls fall, right? So.
Horrorguest, you were experimenting with binding the moon to a sword or some such. Do you think you could perhaps bind the moon to Luna now?
That's a very good point, Revel. I hadn't thought of it that way. Perhaps we could simulate the light of Averoigne's moon using a sword or perhaps a piece of finely etched metal that could emit the beams of the moon.
And what would be the purpose of this particular nonsense?
We will create a giant wolf monster that will help us to attack.
Ah, I see. You intend to use me as a weapon.
Yes, we'll point it at you, and you'll turn into a wolf. And
to activate or inactivate as you wish.
Well, we can give you the mirror, the piece of metal later on. We don't want to, maybe it will be of use to you in the future. I'm more interested in the sigils, you see, I rarely think things through for long periods of time.
She says, "You should know that once the transformation happens, all bets are off. I am unlikely to attack Revel because Revel has the mark, but, well, I'm not really in control."
Revel will kind of lean back in the chair and go, "Well, I'm fine with that."
Just have to be unappealing then, or less appealing than the villagers around us.
I do like a villager. They are easy to pluck, like grapes from the bunch.
I could also construct some kind of rudimentary miniaturized mangonel to launch a pouch of the black powder at the thing as it approaches.
Why not simply throw it at the thing from the walls of the town?
That would be very dull. Well, you obviously have no vision, so fine, throwing it is.
Well, she says, so do we wait for it to come? Do we lead it here? Do we go find it? What do we do?
Well, we want to ensure that the village sees us doing this, so there's no doubt about what we've done.
Will they really pay afterwards, though? They don't need our services anymore.
If they don't pay, leave me in town and then wait for the moon to rise.
We get along so well. Let's wait till it's close to town, within view, and I could float over it and drop the pouch.
And so you wait for a bit. And after a few hours, you are aware of its presence because you see a pair of oxen and the cart they are attached to flying through the air. You hear them first, whatever oxen do, and they're flying through the air and they crash. The cart shatters, the oxen are destroyed, and you hear a ripping sound of trees being ripped from the earth before you see it. Sybil, what do you do?
Well, look at Revel. It's like, well, you want to try this floating gambit, or should I use the sling here?
I may have underestimated its size, yes.
Okay. All right, then I'll prepare the pouch of dust as a projectile for the sling.
Eventually, it comes into view, taking very, very heavy footfalls that practically shake the earth, or at least give you that sensation. Thump, thump, thump. It is enormous. It's taller than the city wall, probably. Well, I'm sure the height of this thing is in the module somewhere. Let me see here.
Was that what the picture's of?
It is the picture. Yeah. It's the picture
Okay.
of the module. Yeah. It's big, right? It is. Do they say the exact height? Doesn't seem like they do. I'm going to say, though, that it's quite big. I think it's probably like 50 feet tall, right? And you see it, and it's taking big, huge steps towards the town. It is kind of like it was described. It looks like just a fleshy humanoid, very large humanoid giant with a stray hands and feet and faces kind of popping out of the flesh, right? You can even like kind of hear like gasping and wailing of the faces like inside its body as it lumbers towards you, but it has like a head and hands and arms and things. And it's this like just this fusion of flesh, basically, lumbering forward inexorably. using a tree to swipe things out of its way. Whop, whop. What do you all do?
I think I'll wait for it to be in range, and whip this pouch of black powder at like at its nose, so it'll breathe it in.
Are you going to go inside this town walls? Or you're going to stay outside the town walls?
I think we're on the walls.
You're on the wall.
Probably.
Okay, so you are on the wall now. Okay, yeah, you can definitely see it then. Everyone's screaming and going nuts, and Gaspar is there. He says, "Have you already got the powder? How did you get to Castle Amber and back so quickly?"
We're very efficient. We're going to need a big bonus for this. We've already been and we've already come back.
Show me the powder. Show me.
All right, I bring it out and do not let him get his hands on it.
He says, "So you already had the powder, didn't you?"
It's a lie. I challenge you to prove it.
You already had the powder, and you're just trying to get paid for something you didn't even do.
Well, we're still going to kill your giant, so perhaps we don't need to quibble over the details.
So we could just leave right now.
Yeah, he, as it like comes over the over the parrot, kind of comes into view and gets closer and looming over everyone and everything, and the screams rise up. He's like, "Okay, fine, good, yeah, destroy away," and he like goes back down off the wall. I think there's a few moments as you're kind of lining up your shot where like it's just taking a tree, it's just batting soldiers off the walls, like just whop and sending them flying, whop, and they're just like ah, screaming as they fly off to their deaths, and then it moves and lurches toward you. You have the powder. Use of the powder lowers the creature's endurance to 11. It is 12 normally, which gives you a better chance at destroying it. And so we do a combat. Are you all ready? First, but let's just have the scene of the powder first. I'm not going to make you roll for that. Just like, what do you do?
Okay. Yeah. So maybe I'm up in the tower, right? And I just pitch this thing, and it flies, like hits the upper lip, and poof, explodes like a mushroom.
The thing lets out a cry that sounds like hundreds of voices rising up at once, and it kind of reels back a little bit, and the sort of like fused flesh that kind of holds it together begins to melt away, and what you see underneath is it is as described before. It is hundreds of bodies jammed together, and that flesh is melting off, so they're half skeletal, and you can see people fused to it. They're wailing in pain, their eyes and flesh melting off the bones, their ribs exposed, and this thing is like, it's like you're seeing the scaffolding underneath, right? And it just like is going for you all, like just reaching and swinging and trying to grab, and we're in combat. Say how you're vulnerable and roll your weak point.
I think I need to get out of the tower and onto the walls. Probably.
Very good. What's your weak point number?
Two.
Horrorgust, how are you vulnerable?
I think Horrorgust had assumed that he couldn't see out of the amber eye, but now when he looks at this creature, but when he looks from that eye, it just burns with sorcery, like it's like a sun. And he has to when he looks at it he takes off his bandage, and it's like he actually has trouble looking at it and has to wrap his face up again.
Nice.
I'll roll the dice as well, just so. A -4.
And Revel.
Revel only has his silver inlaid dagger, so he will have to be close to it to do anything. So
Yeah, unless you like can maybe use some weapons they might have on the wall or something, I suppose. But in any case, getting to those things is a fair enough point about weak points.
right. 2.
2 is the troubling number here. Let's have a combat roll. Sybil, take it away. Combat 3. Oh, and Luna's there as well. So combat 4.
Okay. It's not good.
4, 2, 1, and 1. That's a 4 plus 2 is a 6. That is not enough. And there's a 2 and 4. So everyone's getting hit. Let's have the first bit of combat. Kick it off, Sybil.
I think Sybil, like aim for the eyes and pitches another stone at the thing, and maybe it hits, but it doesn't matter, and probably takes out this tower, right? And I have to
Nice.
get hit by it somehow.
Yeah, you're like
falling.
you're falling. Yeah, yeah. I like that. Keep it going, Horagust.
I think Hargest swings at it with the amber sword, and this gout of pus and like corruption just jets out of it and just burns his skin like this putrid gush of corruption. And I'm not going to use my armor, so I'm going to let my ruin go up by 1.
Indeed. And Revel.
I imagine when the thing takes a swipe at them, it hits a bit of the tower and it just crumbles down on top of Revel. And then there's a moment and he just digs out and he's fine, but one of his amulets is scorched his chest and he's just, why is everything burning me?
Very good, very good. Horagust, give us a combat 5.
Alrighty. Oh no.
Not enough, but no weak point. So it was 5, 5, 5, 3, and 1. Not enough, but no weak point. I'm going to kick off with Luna. Luna, I think what Luna does is she does what she kind of knows best, at least what she remembers from her wolf form, which is when the thing dips its vague head shape now at this point down, she's kind of going for what seems like its neck. And so she's like just trying to tear out the bodies that hold the head on, right? And so you just hear like the cracking of bone as she's like ripping at these like corpses, trying to pull them apart. Not having any luck with it though. Keep it going, Sybil.
So can I just narrate a ritual during this? Or
Sure, yeah, of course, yeah, go for it.
okay. I think Sybil, sees like the sling is not all that effective and goes for this carve ritual and tries to just carve one of its eyes out.
Nice. So we just see you like trying to just like magically tearing away like parts of the corpses from the structure. Yeah, that's good. Horacus, keep it going.
I think it's just because this thing is just like a mass of like a wall of putrid flesh. It seems to have no effect. Essentially, like hitting it and stabbing at it. It's just killing more and more of these kind of poor tortured souls fused in, but the whole never seems to be affected, and it just ends up everyone's just covered in gore and corruption, and nothing seems to happening.
Revel.
I think Revel is actually just standing behind Luna saying, yes, that one. Grab that one.
And I think she's like, do you plan on being any help at any point?
More than likely.
Husband.
Waiting for an opportunity.
Let's see if you get that opportunity. Revel, roll combat 6.
Nope. Oh dear.
Not enough. And 2s. There's a ruin going up for 2 of you. Unless you mark armor. This is a bad round. Luna gets grabbed and slung off the wall. If we see her again, who knows? Sybil, keep it going. Are you getting hit?
Yeah, I think some of this awful goop, like maybe I get the eye out, right? And then it flings the eye at me, and all the eye goop surrounding it splashes onto my arm,
Horrorgast.
I think it's the wall is not holding up well to the assault, and the thing realizes a good strategy is just to fall onto the wall, and you can see like mortar crumbling and masonry shifting, and it's basically just hanging over, like leaning on the wall, and you think the wall is going to give. We all think the wall is going to give very soon, and Horrorgast has to jump out of the way as it just like belly flops onto the parapet.
Revel, I think you're right there when Luna gets thrown off the wall. Give us the next part of the scene.
Revel actually turns and shouts Luna and tries to grab for her, but just can't. And so his back is turned and he gets hit with just a splash of eye goop. Is burned.
Combat 7. Boy, you really should have taken this thing out. Like it needs to. You're looking for an 11. Take it away. Mike, go ahead. We'll combat 7.
Sure.
There it is. No
right.
hits either, or no.
Oh, there's
counter
a
hits.
4 in there.
Oh, there's a 4 in there. Oh, yep, there sure is. We got a 6 and a 5 though. So let's get this thing destroyed. Take it away, Sybil.
Yeah. All right. So I think the thing is like falling down on the wall, right? And so maybe its neck is exposed, and I go for the carve again and just like wind slash, the neck.
Nice, good. I like it. Horrorgast.
I think enough of the bodies, the powder has loosened the bonds enough that the chest, and as the thing fell on the wall, it sort of disrupted it. Bodies have been raining off it, and writhing in the square of the on the other side of the wall, and enough of the chest has fallen away that it's possible to see there in the heart of it sort of is Nathaire part of this thing? Is he there inside it, or
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of that, but I hadn't really thought of that.
maybe it turns out that he was basically wearing the thing.
Oh, it's
and
like a mech.
yeah, and he's there, and then someone else, Horrorgast sort of pushes more of them away, and you can see his body sort of emerges from the mass of the chest.
I love it. Finish the creature off, Revel.
I think you see Revel's throat glow as he casts Feather on himself, and he just turns away from looking after where Luna was and turns to Nathaire and says, "That was my coat," and he just launches himself as not a furry wrecking ball, but a wrecking ball man straight at the center and increasing his density.
And the thing busts apart. Nathaire falls down outside the walls in a collapse of bone and goop and blood. The town takes a moment to take stock. And once they realize that the golem is destroyed, the crowd of people lets up a cheer. Yeah! But then the cheer stops. The people frozen in celebration. And an amber light settles in on the area. And all of your ruin is reset to your starting ruin value. And that is the end of the session. Let's go to stars and wishes. Stars are things you enjoyed about the session. Wishes are things you hope to see next time. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I enjoyed the side with the monster turnaround. That was great.
The Colossus of Elorn is my favorite Clark Ashton Smith story, and that's where this came from. So it was kind of awesome seeing it come to life. So that's one of my stars.
Yeah, I am for a star for me. I really loved the whole resolution of the first mission because I think the dice kind of made it like result in a way that the module didn't intend, but it was still really cool, the way it kind of shook out. So I was really happy with that.
Yeah, this was just a lot of fun. It's been a bit since we were here, but it was fun to get back into Averoigne and just it's so twisted and at times really gross, and so the big star for all that, and also just the way the dice changed the trajectory of our plan in a pretty dramatic way. That was cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. I liked the sword thing was cool because I guess like at a certain point there was an opening to just say like, okay, well that's the sword, that you need. And so it kind of happened really nicely. Like everything just kind of synced up really nicely, like kind of, Horgest or, James spending the 100 world tokens to get the sword, but then like the Sephora's duplicitousness coming through and maybe the mission being changed, but now we need a sword. So here's a sword. Yeah, I just kind of liked how it all kind of fell together really nicely. So that was a star for me. Another star is it was just fun to see the characters again. Like these are fun characters, and it's kind of fun to like get back into the saddle with them, kind of see them in action again.
One thing that I thought was really interesting with the sword is how I feel like the trophy system, it stops MacGuffins feeling contrived. Like when you've got a bunch of MacGuffins to go get, it actually kind of seems to, it just sort of filled in all the gaps, really nicely.
Yeah, this is a total MacGuffin chase, and but it felt good though. Like it felt like a fun story. I was really happy with how it kind of shook out, regardless. Despite the fact that it's just MacGuffins, and like also they just don't give you much here in this part of the module. I mean, it's just not super well defined, and but there's enough there to kind of just wing it, so I felt like pretty happy. I felt comfortable with my winging it, so I guess that's a star for me. But
the wolf balloons.
Yes, 99 wolf balloons was so good. Yeah, I love that. Good little bit of a moment of levity going on there. Any wishes or any other stars?
A star for Horgest taking out his eye and replacing it with an amberstone. That was great.
Yeah, we got the scene in Aftermath, but that was good too, though. Like I thought we were gonna get we were gonna see the scene, but there was something about just like there's a certain like shoulder shrugging comedy to Horgest just suddenly having an amber eye, right? And the hilt of the sword having the eye in it. So yeah.
And having become extremely blasé about trying desperately to retain his body, but not like ultimately constantly failing largely due to the corrosive nature of ruin and of conditions.
That was good.
He'll solve or he'll free himself of Garlem's curse by just gradually transforming himself into a mannequin.
I think also Revel, a real star for the whole like dysfunctional wolf marriage thing. Like that was like it was great. Like it's like a really lively NPC kind of thing.
For me, a wish. I think the main thing I'm really interested in is if we're going to finish this next week. I think we can. I don't know. I mean, I think we could probably like finish this part and then like later finish up the part with Steve and Amber, because there's some stuff with Steve and Amber too that has to be done to like really truly do the whole module. I could probably like cut that bit out, but in any case, I'm just kind of like, I hope we get to a good, if not a resolution next week, I hope we get to at least a satisfying stopping point. So yeah.
It's essentially become a campaign, hasn't it, Castle Amber? Like
I mean, it's only been 4 sessions, but like it feels longer because of the time, I think, you know.
And I don't think like 4 sessions is a lot for a single incursion too.
That is true. Yeah, that's on the high side of like an incursion for sure. Yeah.
does the Castle Amber book have any ideas about how long it should take, or is that
Well, this is like old D&D, and based off like how much stuff there is in here to do and how you don't really have the short circuiting features of Trophy Gold, and this, I think this would take at least 7 or 8 sessions in D&D, probably more. So I'd be really surprised if you could get it done as fast as we're getting it done. But it probably depends on how much the characters want to search and stuff. But it assumes you're going to be here for a while though, because it slips in that bit about Stephen Amber's magic healing you every session, right? So, which a thing about this module, and I'm going to talk about this on Fear of a Black Dragon for sure, is that bit about Stephen Amber healing you every night. That's like one line, and it's not called out, like especially in the text. You could totally miss it, and it's like I'll be curious. I'm going to basically test Tom. I'm going to be like, Tom, that's my co-host on Fear of Black Dragon. I'm going to be like, Tom, what happens at the end of each session? And if he doesn't know, I'm going to know that they wrote this poorly. So that it was a, if he doesn't know the answer, he's getting quizzed. But just to see how, if I'm right, that this little detail is buried in a way it should not be. But
I can see why. I mean, I feel like I can see why it's in there, because we would have died so many times.
oh, you died so
already.
many times, and you can't go, and you can't. Well, and the module knows that it's really dangerous, and you can't go back to town because you're in another dimension. So, like, it's that's the module's like sop to the sort of the sort of conceit of it, I guess. But yeah. Any other stars and wishes?
But I'd like to see what happened to Luna. But no, I'm really enjoying the ride.
I'm just curious, wish-wise, what we end up, because this is going to be a heck of a Hearthfire. We're going to come up back to town when we do eventually make it back to Caldor. We're going to have a lot of stuff, and it's going to be quite an unusual Hearthfire. So I guess one of my wishes is just to see how it all shakes down in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else? We all good? Okie doke. Well, I'm really happy with how this went. I'm excited to continue next week, and we'll see kind of how far we get next week, and kind of figure out where the campaign goes from there. So, but in any case, thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording now.